Good afternoon once again. Welcome to South Africa Lately, a channel that discusses South African trending news. We do, however, grab here and there from international news when it is trending enough to be brought here. Please do understand that I'm not a politician. I do not have deep knowledge in politics. However, I am a South African citizen who is also a voter, and I do believe that my views count when it comes to political affairs of our beautiful country. So first of all, guys, I'd like to apologize for being late for this video, as I promised 4:30 and I just couldn't make it because life happened between then and now. So but because the president of America, whom I consider to be the best president in America before Biden, because Biden was just too old and he just managed the end of that term. So Barack Obama has spoken about the mess that is happening in the US, and I would like us to talk about that, him and Donald Trump, and also we're going to be talking about the Democratic Alliance having the ambitions of getting that 51% for themselves so that they can govern this country all by themselves with not being in any coalition whatsoever. And they've started moving that way, proving that, you know what, they really want this. Let us begin this with Barack Obama and Donald Trump. So finally, President Barack Obama has finally opened his mouth, his precious mouth, and spoken about the mess that is happening in the US. I was so happy because you could tell the difference between the leader and somebody that is there to settle his cause, and somebody that seeks to turn the hands of time back to a time when a certain race was superior to other races, and they have exported, they are exporting the same ideology to other countries, and South Africa in Africa is being the target because we have many white people in South Africa.
Imagine if I had done any of this. Let me just, I just want to be clear about this. Imagine if I had pulled Fox News' credentials from the White House press corps. You're laughing, but no, this is what's happening. Imagine if I had said to law firms that were representing parties that were upset with policies my administration had initiated, that you will not be allowed into government buildings. We will punish you economically for dissenting from the Affordable Care Act or the Iran deal. We will ferret out students who protest against my policies. It's unimaginable that the same parties that are silent now would have tolerated behavior like that from me, or a whole bunch of my predecessors. So, and I say this not on a partisan basis. This has to do with something more precious, which is, who are we as a country and what values do we stand for? It is up to all of us to fix this. It's not going to be because somebody comes and saves you. The most important office in this democracy is the citizen, the ordinary person, who says, no, that's not right. I do think one of the reasons that our commitment to democratic ideals has eroded is that we got pretty comfortable and complacent. It's not enough just to say you're for something. You may actually have to do something and possibly sacrifice a little bit. So yeah, if you're a law firm being threatened, you might have to say, okay, we will lose some business because we're going to stand for a principle. If you are a university, you may have to say, figure out, are we in fact doing things right? Have we in fact violated our own values, our own code, violated the law in some fashion? If not, and you're just being intimidated, well, you should be able to say, well, that's why we got this big endowment. We'll stand up for what we believe in, and then we'll pay our researchers for a while out of that endowment, and we'll give up the extra wing or the fancy gymnasium that we can delay that for a couple of years, because academic freedom might be a little more important. There is a cost to challenging the powers that be, particularly if they're abusing that power. And this idea, and I've noticed this among some wealthier folks who, after George Floyd, they were right there, and a bunch of companies were talking about how they cared about diversity and they wanted to do this and they were all for that. And they are mute right now. But what that tells me is it was okay when it was cool and trendy. And when it's not, not so much. And that, I think, is what we have to, each of us has to examine in our own hearts. All right, we say we're for equality. Are we willing to fight for it?
You heard that, right? You heard that. And he said, we have to change that. So what can that mean for South Africa to see the change, maybe changing the current leadership that we see in America? And I pray that whatever leadership that can be installed in America cannot be the leadership that is under the Republicans, because the same ideology will be passed on to the next person. Just maybe they can change the tactic of doing it and not do it the same way in which is being done by the two presidents of America, which is Elon Musk and Donald Trump. You see, so would be, I believe, you can tell me in the comment section what your views are, but I think the relations between South Africa and the US can improve, even though even the Biden administration was concerned about the way in which South Africa was moving with Palestine, Israel, and Iran. You see, there were concerns there. But I do believe that when we have a leader like Barack Obama, you can sit and have a decent discussion, not a discussion, the manner in which the whole thing is being handled by the current administration, telling the entire country that on social media, using X to communicate, you are not even communicating, you're telling the entire world without following the right channels, without following the correct protocol. So you're just doing things the way you please, and you're expecting the respect from that country. So you're expecting that country not to be resistant towards the things that you are doing, even though they feel like we can adjust here and there. But when you do like that, you cause resistance, and you finally see the reaction of the people like Ibrahim Rasool, who was South African ambassador in the US, because he was undermined right being there in the US. He was undermined, you see. Anyway, guys, so how do you think that can affect us? How do you think they change? Because you see, Donald Trump is seeking to change the amendment that prohibits any leader to run for third term in America, to be the leader for the third time in America. So if he amends that opens the door for Barack Obama to lead again. I would be so happy if that were to happen. They need to allow the guy to do his thing the way he is doing. I'm talking about Donald Trump now. They need to allow him to do what he's doing the way he's doing, so that he amends that. And once he does that, and then the door is open for everyone, then they need to remove that guy. I don't see Donald Trump finishing his term in that America. Seriously, I don't. I've tried to look at it in different ways. Not because I only wish for that, which I do. It is because even the Americans themselves, even the people that voted for him, are now tired. So guys, please let me know in the comment section what to think of what is happening in America regarding what President Barack Obama said. You see, he said we need to change that. So how do you think it can affect South Africa? Can we improve? Can the relations improve between South Africa and America once we change? Anyway, so now let us move to the next, which is the Democratic Alliance wanting to get that 51%. So the ambition is to improve drastically. You see, one thing about the Democratic Alliance, they are the realists. You know, as much as they have their ambitions, they cannot say in 2029 they would win the elections like 51%. They seek to grow with the elections of 2029. For them, that is why they cannot leave the GNU, no matter how shaky things can be there. Because for them, it's a place whereby they can shake things up, be more in the news, shake things up, push where they can push back where they can push back, and get certain things done so that eventually they get to govern. And they've started moving that way. You see, Helen Zille is on TikTok. Helen Zille understands that, in fact, let me just say the Democratic Alliance, they understand that they have to be understood by the youth. They understand that South Africa now is with, the law says, one man, one vote. And black people are the majority. We cannot run away from that. We might not have money, but we have the power to choose the person that we want to govern us, or to lead us rather. You see, so now it is not because Helen Zille is a bored woman, that's why she's on TikTok. No, they don't play like that. So Helen Zille is on TikTok. Firstly, on her birthday, she posted a video singing Vulindlela by Brenda Fassie to get. And then recently, she was seen dancing to Casper Nyovest's song, Have You Seen My Wife? She was dancing to that song. It's not like she just wants to be on TikTok. No, don't take Helen Zille like that. They are on their mission. They want to be understood by the youth of today. That's one. Number two, have you ever seen how Moeletsi Mbeki sometimes is not relatable to black people? How he removes himself from benefiting from BEE and be pointing fingers at people like your President Cyril Ramaphosa. Whenever he wants to make an example, he starts with President Cyril Ramaphosa like he was the only one that benefited from BEE.
It's a great pleasure to be here, and it's my first time at this conference. When I was asked to attend, I thought this was going to be one of the usual conferences of 30, 40, or 50 people. And I'm just taken aback by how many people are there at this conference. I'm also especially glad that Helen Zille is still here with us. Her party is the second largest party in the country. So her party is very important to the future of South Africa. And I will try and explain why her party is important. And I'm hoping that she will help us understand what is her party going to do to get to 51% of the votes. We've had discussions. There's been comments about black economic empowerment, which is entitlement par excellence. But what people don't know and don't understand is that black economic empowerment policies of the ANC were not developed by the ANC. They were developed by the Broederbond. It was the Broederbond that came up in the early 1990s with the policy of black economic empowerment. They used they used Sanlam to set up the first black economic empowerment company called New Africa Investment Limited. New Sanlam took a division, one of its divisions called Metropolitan Life, and brought in the black leaders of the anti-apartheid movement and said, here is the company, you can have it. Why did they do this? They did it in order to fracture the multiracial nature of the ANC. The ANC could never have a policy of black economic empowerment because the ANC, since 1950, has been a multiracial organization. It could never have policies that favored any particular racial group. But the Broederbond and Sanlam came up with this policy. They set up New African Investments, and they got leaders of the United Democratic Front in particular, and they gave them shares in Metropolitan Life. And black economic empowerment has been a major driver of corruption in this country ever since. So you have to ask yourself, why would the Broederbond do such a horrible thing as they did it in order to weaken the incoming government of the ANC by fracturing the multiracial nature of the ANC. In 1994, I think something like 40% of the colored voters voted for the ANC in the first democratic election. After all these policies of discriminatory policies of black economic empowerment, affirmative action, and so on, in the last election, I saw one of the studies, I think, by the Social Research Foundation, only 1.6% of the colored voters voted for the ANC. So you can see why the Broederbond came up with the policy of black economic empowerment. But why did the ANC accept this policy? The ANC leadership, it wasn't the ANC people, masses, as R.W. Johnson has pointed out so eloquently, it was not the ANC masses who accepted the policy of black economic empowerment. It was the ANC leadership who accepted the policy of black economic empowerment. Why? Because they benefit from it. But the consequence of black economic empowerment, besides driving corruption, it also is against entrepreneurship because it drives entitlement. Instead of getting the so-called African middle class to become entrepreneurs, it gets them to become very wealthy from getting shares from existing businesses. Huge amounts of money are allocated into black economic empowerment deals. If black economic empowerment was of any good to the economy of South Africa, we wouldn't be sitting with 40% unemployment, with all these wealthy black people like Cyril Ramaphosa, Saki Makozoma, I don't know who else. These are the beneficiaries of black economic empowerment. It is black economic empowerment is a parasite on the existing economy of South Africa. It is parasitic on the economy of South Africa, and it is destructive of value in the economy of South Africa, and it should be gotten rid of. Now, how do we get rid of it?
You see, when he talks about BEE, for me, by the time you say, no, but he's telling the truth, BEE has benefited black politicians and whatnot, we didn't benefit as black people, he starts saying, we need to throw that thing away, the whole thing away. He doesn't say, we replace it with what? And once we throw it away, he even said, sorry guys, he even said BEE is a parasite that seeks to benefit from people's businesses that we didn't work on. No, we just want opportunities to be supported by our own government. Like, I personally, I don't want any white person's business. We have entities that are meant to support black women in business. They don't support it. I've never seen that benefit. I have not. Until I get that benefit, I'll speak differently. There's a lot of things that we don't benefit from that we are supposed to benefit from. But anyway, moving away from that, have you heard Moeletsi Mbeki now saying the Democratic Alliance is the only serious party? And he wishes for them to get that 51% the way he speaks. Whether that is good or bad, that's another story. Mine is to share with you that the Democratic Alliance wants to govern this country and govern it alone. So what does that say? It says Moeletsi Mbeki now supports the Democratic Alliance and wishes the Democratic Alliance to govern this country and to get that 51% so that they can govern this country. So this is the party that also says, let's scratch the BEE. If you look at it, Elon Musk wants the BEE scratched. Donald Trump wants the BEE gone. You see, so it explained to me why Moeletsi Mbeki speaks like that. Now you see, for me, that says the Democratic Alliance have found its mouthpiece. in Moeletsi Mbeki because they've started speaking the same language. It is by no accident that Moeletsi Mbeki was where Helen Zille was in that conference. I think it was a business conference or something. Yeah, they were there. And he pointed out that Helen Zille is amongst the people there. And he said, it's a good thing she is here. Helen Zille was there because her party is the serious party right now in South Africa. Do you understand? Then I began to understand, okay. That is why Moeletsi Mbeki is no longer understandable to us because he speaks in a folk tongue. Because he's speaking things that you understand and he loses you somewhere. And you'd be like, what is he saying now? See, I began to... So if they can get more people talking like that and move the way they are moving with the youth so that they are relatable to our youth today, what does that tell you? It tells you that they are looking at changing things. But those things that they seek to change must be understood by our youth so that whatever is being said, whatever that other, I'm sorry to say, black political parties are holding on to be heard by black voters, especially our youth, must no longer carry any value. So you cannot go to our youth and tell them about BEE. Because as things stand, we are not benefiting from that BEE as black people. As a black woman, I don't. And our youth, most of our youth, they are not working. So you cannot talk to them about BEE. So there is some way where BEE is good. Because there is somewhere where black people are working. I'm talking about now seriously skilled black people, where they are working, where they get paid what they are supposed to be paid because of the watchdog that is BEE. There are places that black people are working and they know they are not wanted there. The only thing that is keeping them there is because of BEE. You see, I'm talking about qualified people who are just not wanted because of their skin. You see what I'm saying? So please don't misunderstand me because of we are skilled, but they just don't want your skin in that office. But BEE is now keeping you there. You know the challenges that we are facing. You can share them in the comment section. So what I'm saying is the Democratic Alliance, as much as the ANC is seeking to squash the Democratic Alliance within that GNU, the Democratic Alliance is seeking to squash ANC within that GNU. That is why they have your AFRIFORUM. Don't separate the Democratic Alliance from AFRIFORUM because they are both capable of going to the US and be discussing the issues that are happening in South Africa, and they are heard differently than the people who are leading us in this country because of skin color. And whatever AFRIFORUM is standing for, also the Democratic Alliance partly stands for. So there's a place where they find each other, where they meet and understand each other, and then maybe they don't see each other like you're moving to the US and what stuff, being refugees, because that is for Afrikaners only. So that is different. So but at the end of the day, they have that marriage that they have. You cannot marry if you have nothing in common. You cannot marry if you have nothing in common. That is why the marriage between the ANC and the Democratic Alliance gets scattered now and then, because they don't see eye to eye. They've got nothing in common. So you see, the Democratic Alliance has the ambition of governing this country. And also I'm going to find that video and I just remembered and put it here when Helen Zille said the best day in South Africa for South Africans was if the Democratic Alliance won the 2/3 majority.
How are you going to navigate that terrain when it comes to opposing and contradicting policies? Foreign policy, when it comes to BEE, when it comes to the NHI bill, which the DA is vehemently against and the ANC is totally for as well. How are you going to navigate those things?
Well, I'm not sure the ANC is totally for some of those things that cost them so many votes, and they'll have to kind of rethink. One of them was NHI that cost them so many votes. So they'll have to rethink a lot of things, but that's why Clause 19 on the agreement is so important. It defines sufficient consensus as being reached when parties that constitute 60% of the government of national unity can reach agreement. Now that is critical because it means that the DA will never be in a position where it's merely propping up an ANC government.
But you're holding them together. Without the DA, the ANC possibly couldn't get enough votes in Parliament to get their decisions through.
Well, what is the choice? The big question in politics, Govan, is always compared to what? Compared to the DA, well, it's not a great... the best option for South Africa would have been if the DA won an overall majority. That would have been happy days for South Africa. But we didn't. So what are the options? And we said we want the least bad option. Now...
So this government is the least bad option?
Of all the options on the table, yes. Because let me put it to you. The other alternative is having the ANC, EFF and MK.
You see, just remember, I am that dodo after all when it comes to politics. Though I need to get more information so that I expand my knowledge in this, because I discovered that this is something that I truly, truly love talking about. So, okay, whether it is good for the Democratic Alliance to govern this country all by themselves is another story, but they have that ambition and they want to make an impact within that GNU. That is why you find the ANC pushing back here and there. And you eventually see the push and pull left, right and center within that GNU. And the Democratic Alliance is not about to leave that GNU, because they know the benefit that they're getting from being there. More than any other thing, more than the salaries that they get, because now you cannot just leave your job, because when the money goes up, you adjust your living. So now their living is here because of the salaries that they are getting, the life and the whatnot, the living is here. So if they drop, they have to drop everything. But let's put that aside. Politically, they are there to continuously be on that mission to squash the life out of the African National Congress. Anyway, guys, if you watched up to here, I'd like to say thank you for watching my videos. And the next time you bump into my videos, kindly watch my ads in full. It really goes a long way, as that is the only way you can be supporting the channel.